What an interesting storyline, Marianne Williamson. She's been smeared as the crystal woo-woo lady. Saturday Night Live has this depiction of her of like astral projecting in. And it is this really weird depiction of her, but I gotta admit, Marianne Williamson's Twitter is kind of funky, or it was. She had a bunch of weird tweets about, spiritual energy or whatever. And so I think that's why people started making fun of her this way. But this story is actually really fascinating. What Marianne is saying is, for one, the smears aren't coming from the right. They're coming from the left. And it seems like a deliberate strategy. Now, I must admit, I have seen many left-wing political activist accounts attacking Marianne Williamson. Now, before the crystal woo-woo stuff started, they were saying that she was going to be a spoiler, that she shouldn't be in the race. And then all of a sudden, the crystal stuff started to emerge, where they insulted her and berated her. I shouldn't say berated, but belittled her and mocked her. And she said now several times, the left is lying and they're mean and they're trying to destroy her. I'm being a little hyperbolic when I say try to destroy her, but yeah, the smears. And then all of a sudden, these activist accounts I started watching started just mocking her. And I think they learned an important lesson from Donald Trump. See, here's the thing. You want to get rid of someone like Marianne Williamson, who has never owned a crystal, never brought a crystal, and she's like, it's trying to tear her down. You want to get rid of her. You can't do it by insulting her. Marianne Williamson, the way I've described her is she's been a bit of a sweetheart on the stage. And what I mean by that, she's very nice. She tries to avoid the smear campaigns. She's tried talking about love. She really has tried bringing a positive approach where they repeatedly try to get her to slam Trump and his family and other Democrats. And she's teetered close to that kind of message. But it seems like she's at least hoping that there could be a counter attack on this negativity that's sweeping over politics. And I have tremendous respect for that. And I donated a small amount to her to help her get that threshold and get on the debate stage, because at least you'll have someone saying, stop the negativity, the insults, and things like that, in a sense. Well, they learned from Trump. You see, Trump was very effective. He's a very, very effective showman. And he knew you label these people, you create that mentality, you create that word, and it will destroy them. Lying Ted Cruz. Well, Trump supporters have reclaimed that with lion, L-I-O-N. Because now because Cruz is now, saying, hey, he's the president, he's going to stand by him. But you had little Marco, you had low energy, you get the point. Trump took this idea and forced it. He gave that title to these people, and it will destroy you. The same as they're doing now with Marianne Williamson. Whether it's on purpose or not, I'm not going to act like anyone's trying to do it on purpose, but I think, or like the whole thing started on purpose, but people definitely are smearing her on purpose. And the funny thing is, it's coming from the left. Well, yeah, when Trump was running for president, it was coming from him. But he wasn't technically the right because he wasn't really a Republican, Well, let's read the story and see what Marianne Williamson has to say from the Daily Wire. They say, Marianne Williamson slams left wing for portraying her as the crystal woo-woo lady. Democratic presidential candidate Marianne Williamson criticized members of her own party on Saturday for not taking her campaign seriously and unfairly casting her as an out-there spiritual leader. This idea that I'm a crystal woo-woo lady, the crystal woo-woo lady image, what does that woo-woo mean? I don't know. To some extent amusing, has no relation to reality. Williams said during an interview with Yahoo News, I've never had a crystal. I've never written about crystals. I've never talked about crystals. I've never had a crystal on stage with me. No, she's just very much more a new age, let the love flow through you kind of person. And so they take that and they twist it now to the spiritual healer type of trope. But it is, I tell you this, effective. I can't remember who it was, but there was that yeehaw politician or whatever. And some guy yelled yeehaw or something. It destroyed his career. His political campaign was mocked endlessly over saying that. And then no one took him seriously anymore. People are going to hear Marianne Williamson. They're not going to know much. And they're going to go, oh, that weird hippie crystal lady? No. What are you talking about? And they're not going to entertain any of her ideas. It is one of the most effective tactics to getting rid of somebody. Making them out to be a character. Now you've got corrupt Joe Biden. I assure you. Crooked Joe. Trump's already called him crooked. And that's going to be the line he plays. And he's going to want you in your head to associate that emotion with the person. And there it is. So let's read more. The Democratic hopeful launched a bid for the presidency in January 2019, despite having significantly lower name recognition than her primary opponents. However, she began to gain national attention and amass a following of her own after appearing at the Democratic National Committee's first presidential debate. As Williamson's campaign gained momentum, she faced increasing criticism over views that the media portrayed as anti-vaccine, which I believe is unfair. I'll say this, I have no problem saying this. Everybody needs to get vaccinated, seriously. Need and forced are two different things. That people talk about government-mandated vaccination, that terrifies me. Giving the government the authority to medicate you is, whoa, hold your horses there. I think everybody should get vaccines. I don't think, I could be wrong, that her stance was anti-vaccine. I think her stance was similar. The government shouldn't force you to get medicated. That's weird. Now, if you want to go to a public school, then I understand. Yeah, you probably should have to get vaccinated if you want to go to a public school. You want to mind your own business and be at home and do homeschooling and private school? Hey, that's your private business, right? Let's read on. They say she told Yahoo News that while she understands scrutiny is commonplace for political candidates, something far more sinister was starting to happen, and the uniform attacks were part of a well-designed strategy. Welcome to the club. This is what we've seen. Did you probably didn't watch my video because yesterday I got lower than normal views, but if you haven't, go watch my video about how they're coming after Bill Maher. It is a remarkable article. Okay, here's what they do. They first, Bill Maher is a long-standing liberal. How do you get someone to believe he's not? You call him a phony first. You say, oh, he's a phony. And that way someone might be like, how is he a phony? And they'll listen to your argument. They then entertain the possibility that he supports an appeal to racism and the alt-right. And then after that shocks the reader saying, what? That's absurd. Bill Maher does not support that. They end by saying, well, fine, call him whatever you want, just don't call him a liberal. And that's how the game is played. I'm not going to say it's a well-designed, designated strategy because I don't know if it's on purpose. There may be individuals doing it on purpose, but not everybody, not all of the media. I think it may just be that a trend was created. Somebody, made the attack vector and it was funny and trend-worthy and everyone jumped on the bandwagon. But I got to admit, this is very, very inconvenient and sometimes these things happen. But I got to say, with the PR firms that exist, they know how the game is played, I assure you. PR 101. The words were all the same. Anti-science, anti-medicine, dangerous, crazy, grifter. I mean, you couldn't be clearer. Those were the words repeated in all of the articles, all of the stories, Williamson said. They were meant to create suspicion in people's minds. And now after hearing this, I say, yeah, I've seen that. Isn't it weird? Now, look, I'm not saying there's a conspiracy between all of these news organizations. I think it's a social phenomenon. I have been at the picnic bench in the back of the bars with these journalists as they all say the same words and then giggle like drones saying the same word. One person will be like, Marianne Williamson, anti-science. And then everyone around the table goes, anti-science, anti-science. And then they go and write articles saying the exact same things. They're in email threads. They're on Facebook. They're in Facebook groups together. One person will be like, haha, she's anti-science. And then everyone will just giggle and laugh along. It's not that one person, went to the cabal of journalism and said, everyone, tomorrow's campaign is to call Marianne Williamson anti-science. And so I can understand from her perspective, it seems coordinated. But this is actually is a really great example, I think, of a standalone complex. I love that concept. For those that aren't familiar, it's when a bunch of things randomly happen, a bunch of the same thing randomly happens, giving this impression of a coordinated effort. In this instance, it looks like a coordinated effort. That's what she's saying. All the articles saying the same things, highlighting. I think it's a much simpler solution to this. Journalism is dead, man. It is dead, dead, dead. And what you have now are activists. And you also have churnalists. C-H-U-R-N. Not journ, churn. They churn it out, right? And what'll happen is someone will write an op-ed saying Marianne Williamson is an anti-vaccine, anti-science, dangerous crystal grifter. And then some other random person who's getting paid $30,000 a year at some New York office is going to be sitting there like this, like, what do I write about? Oh, hey, crystal grifter. And then they're going to be like, Marianne Williamson's a crystal grifter. And then all of a sudden, crystal grifter appears everywhere. And that's how it is. It's not, I don't think it's on purpose. But I do think it's fascinating how she's experiencing this phenomenon and she's on the Democrat side. They were meant to create doubt, lest anybody even think of taking me seriously as a candidate. But I think at this point, just as the smear campaign cast doubt on my credibility, The fact that I've been out there, that people have heard me more themselves, people have seen my clips, enough has begun to cast doubt on the credibility of those who have projected onto me such mischaracterization. Well, I'll tell you this, Marianne, you're going to find a ton of support from centrists, to the left, to the right, moderates, conservatives, because we've all seen this phenomenon from the leftist identitarian clickbait click media. Okay, these people are friends with each other. They're not coordinating on purpose. They just all share the same ideas and live in a bubble. So what you're experiencing, tons of us have experienced. You take a look at the right-wing rabbit hole lie about YouTube where they claim if you watch one channel, you'll get swept up and go down the alt-right rabbit hole. It's just not true. It is not true. They try and create these lies, but what happens is someone will write like a fake report with fake connections, like a crime web conspiracy trash, and all these other outlets just repeat the same thing. They don't fact check. They don't care. They're not journalists. That's the issue. People need to get thick skin. Here's the way I put it. When you play the guitar for the first time, man, your fingers blister up and you bleed. But eventually, you get calluses, and you can play the guitar all day and night, and you're less likely to bleed. You still might, but yeah. Your fingers might bleed. There's like famous videos where a guy's playing and the blood starts coming out of his fingers because, even with calluses, it can hurt. The point is, we are basically the fingers, and we need to grow calluses to protect ourselves from the callous and journalist press. But yeah, they say Williamson, a 4-time best-selling author, further contended that the attempts to mock her candidacy and discredit her campaign have been perpetuated by left-wing voices. She says they're not coming from Republicans. It's not the first time she's expressed this frustration, saying, what does it say that Fox News is nicer to me than lefties are? I'll tell you this. If anything, this line of talk is going to be completely relatable to conservatives. Moderates too, but I assure you the Trump base is going to be like, oh, right on, sister. And you're going to find a lot of people on the right donating. Now, here's what I will say. The right has criticized her. They've said to donate to her because she's crazy. And they've also criticized her over her ideas. She's very pro-reparation. I think it's awful. I think it's a terrible, terrible idea that further divides us. But, hey, that's just me. I'm not a politician, so don't take my word for it. You believe whatever you want to believe. But I'll tell you this, Marianne, you're about 95% right about what's going on. It's not well designated. It's not on purpose, but the phenomenon exists, and it is from the left. So, surprise. Stick around. I got a couple more segments coming up for you in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.